Well, hello, everyone. My name is Dan Horowitz, president of Camp IT Conferences, and welcome to our virtual boardroom Dev Ops plus Business Enterprise Architecture Thinking, sponsored by Mosier IT and Atlassian. We've been hosting enterprise IT conferences for 38 years and have a suite of offerings both in person and virtual to help you navigate through your IT security, enterprise architecture, IT leadership challenges. We're excited to have all of you join us today. The goals consist of growing your professional network, learn from two respective thought leaders, leverage the brain power of your peers, and shortly I'll enable everyone to put on their video as well, because we want to make this a friendly environment where you get to connect with folks that are joining us from around the world, the United States, Canada, etc. Please remember to turn on your webcams, and I'll enable that in a second. Feel free to ask questions directly of the presenters. Leverage the chat feature as well. Thank you to our joint sponsors, Mosier IT and Atlassian, for enabling us to come together. I would now like to introduce our speakers who will then lead these sessions. Bob Cantor is Vice President of Business Services at Mosier Consulting, with several years of experience in that role. Project management is his passion, with many years of experience in infrastructure and software-related projects. He's led numerous engagements with large international companies from a PM role. And John Meyer with Atlassian is a senior solutions engineer with a background both in software development and IT operations. Previously held positions as a contractor for the federal government, working in various application security and agile software development teams. Bob and John, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Dan. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you for having us. We're excited. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share my screen. And we'll talk through what we're going to discuss today.
And to those folks that are on the call with us, I've enabled you all to share, to join over video. So feel free to do so. That way you get to know other people in the room.
Just give me one moment. It's not pulling up. The share option is disabled. One moment. Dan, just to confirm, do I have the ability to share?
You sure do. I enabled both of you.
Okay. One moment. Sign into my Zoom.
Bob, do you have a copy of it that you can share, or?
I don't.
It's saying bring it to the forefront now. One moment.
John, how about, why don't you send it to me and then I can just pull it up and share it.
Sure.
Then we can just start the conversation.
Yep, so I'll send that in a deck now. All right, I just sent that over.
Okay. As soon as I grab it, I'll put it on.
Yep. So today we're gonna be talking how you can connect the different teams within your business using enterprise architecture. We're going to start out with a brief presentation. So we're going to have about 20 minutes of presentation. We're going to walk through some slides to kind of set the ground today for our discussion, and then afterwards we're going to have a boardroom discussion where you all can ask questions. We can talk about problems that you all are having that other customers have overcome, and really just open the floor up after the presentation to have an open conversation with all of us.
I haven't received it yet.
Okay, I sent it via email there. Let me just check. It says bring it to the forefront. I rearranged my windows. I think I should be able to share now.
Hey,
There we go. All right, thank you.
All right, and are you all seeing the presentation mode, or are you just seeing the one slide?
The two slides side by side.
Okay, it's showing. There we go. So now you just see the one slide, correct?
All good.
All right, great. Thank you all for sitting through that. You know, it's not a webinar without some technical difficulties. But as we mentioned, for today, we're going to have a 20-minute or so presentation. We're going to be talking through some slides just to kind of set the stage for today, and then we're going to have an open discussion afterwards where we can chat with one another, talk through problems, challenges, and ways to overcome those problems and challenges. So in general, today we're going to be discussing how businesses are transforming by connecting their dev, IT ops, and business teams' work processes. We're going to go in depth and take a look at how enterprises are able to become more efficient, identify bottlenecks and dependencies, and gain valuable business insight by merging their processes onto an enterprise-wide tool. A rapidly growing business can quickly turn into a complex web of software systems. What these businesses eventually run into is what we call software blues. This is when companies try to leverage technology to operate businesses only to find that the software is not meeting all of their goals. Ironically, too much technology seems to get in the way. You could be looking for speed, savings, and efficiency with different types of software, only to get hit with more complexity than you initially bargained for. To make things even more complex, different teams may be using different software systems with completely different workflows and processes. IT may be using one tool, dev using another, and engineering may be using their own tool as well. Unless all these tools are seamlessly integrated, it makes it very challenging to identify bottlenecks and align to business goals. This may lead to the business being pulled in multiple directions. And this is why we're going to discuss today some of the challenges that too many solutions with different teams can cause. One of the main issues that teams run into is resource drain. The time, money, and effort spent on singular purpose or limited scope applications quickly adds up. Before you know it, your business is being overwhelmed by the very same apps you chose to save you time and money in the first place. And to be entirely fair, a lot of these best of breed tools offer benefits and features that could prove valuable to your business. The only downside is the time the users spend moving from one app to another. This could add up to lots of wasted time over the coming days, weeks, months, years, over the course of a few months. And this, if you just think about it in this way, if it takes an extra 20 seconds for an IT worker to open a separate app to send a request to an engineering team, let's say, then a business with 80 IT workers will be wasting over 500 hours a year. This could translate to losses numbering in thousands of dollars, depending on the compensation model. But that's not even the worst part of all of this. The problem gets further compounded when you use single breed programs that do not integrate well with each other. Let's say, for instance, that your time tracking application does not integrate with your project management program. This means that the business owner suddenly has to manually move data from one system to another. The business owner also has limited visibility into the work and process in that one specific tool, and they want to switch context to gather more information. It's not all gloom and doom for these one-purpose applications, though. They can be extremely beneficial if that's what you want in a single solution. The problem comes is when enterprises start using too many of them at the same time. Having one solution for engineering, one for service management, another for project management is too huge of a drain on resources to ignore. Once any savvy business stakeholder notices this, they tend to look elsewhere for multi-use enterprise-wide platforms. To overcome the aforementioned challenges that come with racking up too many single-use applications, businesses are making the switch to enterprise-wide tools that are designed to work for multiple teams and use cases. So let's start to discuss the advantages that enterprises are seeing as they have began to adopt these tools and platforms. So one of the most obvious benefits to adopting an enterprise-wide platform is cost reduction. A small monthly fee for one software program sounds great, but fast forward to a few years and one app turns into 20, and sometimes 40, and sometimes 50. Before you know it, you're dishing out thousands or even millions of dollars each month for different programs, some with overlapping features. A lot of people think that the price for enterprise solutions would be more since you're basically using the same amount of programs. However, integrated business software provides a lot of cost benefits. For one, you save on time and create more productivity since workers don't have to switch back and forth between apps. Secondly, a centralized platform also means simplified pricing and easier bookkeeping. This means your company will understand exactly what they're paying for in the end, as opposed to calculating the total expense of multiple software systems with different billing cycles and pricing models. The next benefit, and one really major benefit to using an enterprise-wide platform, is real-time visibility into the work and processes of the business. A business can never really have a complete view of their activities in real time. Now, when it's dealing with overlapping databases and multiple siloed systems and teams, it gets even more complicated. With an enterprise-wide tool, this newfound visibility lets you understand how your various teams are working and where the dependencies lie. Seeing and understanding these dependencies will allow you to make accurate business decisions, the kind that are required to remain quick and agile in a competitive marketplace. The next major benefit is collaboration. The businesses that succeed do so because of tremendous teamwork. Great teamwork starts with people and practices. However, tooling is also a large part of that equation. In order for teams,
I just wanted to point out, John, that's at Mosier Consulting, that is one benefit that we are asked for all the time of the collaboration when we're working with our clients. I think that's one of the biggest things that they when we get into this talking about, especially the Atlassian tool, is how can we better collaborate across all our departments, not just IT or marketing or HR, but is it for the whole business? And of course, the answer is yes. But the architect part behind that is where we can get this in the tools. So it is a issue about any client we go into and that we partner with to give them those solutions.
Yep, most definitely. And that's something, it's one of the main focuses that we always talk about at Atlassian is the emphasis on teamwork. We always say that no major feat was achieved without teamwork, whether it was sending a man to the moon or discovering a vaccine for COVID-19. All great things were achieved with teamwork. And we understand that people and practices are the major portions of that equation, but tooling is equally as important to make sure that everyone is aligned and everyone can work with one another to enable each other to be better. And they need tooling that enables them to be able to collaborate with their peers, especially in today's remote digital world. Siloed tooling hinders teams' ability to work with one another if they're all using different tools. For example, if I'm in HR and I'm onboarding a new employee, I probably have a number of tasks that I need to complete for that new team member. If I need to get that person a new laptop, for example, I don't want to have to switch contexts and go to a different tool to submit that request to IT. It isn't very efficient, and now work is being tracked in two separate places to achieve one overall objective in onboarding that new employee. It would be preferential to do this all in the same platform. And also from IT's perspective, it would be great for them if that new user's information was already imported into their platform, or if they use a CMDB into that, so that they have everything they need to know about that user without having to request more information or go query in Active Directory for that person's information. Having teams working on the same platform increases both collaboration and efficiency. Another major benefit is integration and compatibility. So not all software or apps integrate together seamlessly. This lack of integration remains among the leading shortfalls of single-use applications. On the flip side, multi-purpose enterprise-grade software tools guarantee compatibility throughout all the processes. Your team can be sure that all their functions work together seamlessly within this type of model. With single-use programs, you have to spend extra time and money finding and integrating alternatives. Obviously, this option limits most of your choices such that you may not be able to find any compatibility at all. Fortunately, it's much easier to introduce a new service when you're dealing with an all-in-one enterprise-grade solution. An advanced feature could come out for one of the apps, and you wouldn't have to worry about updates causing potential compatibility issues because you're then integrating across multiple products. Nothing will cause harm to one function in favor of another, since all upgrades apply to the entire suite. And lastly, one of the last major benefits to adopting an enterprise-wide tool for your teams is user-driven innovation. User-driven innovation, it makes it a lot easier for your teams to make changes and improvements quickly when all of your teams are using the same tooling. Imagine trying to make upgrades to changes to dozens of applications simultaneously. It can be a pain, and it kind of takes you away from your day-to-day job. Needless to say, it will take a lot of time and effort and manpower to achieve this otherwise simple feat if you were all on the same tool. Regular users can make full use of their functions and address performance issues much faster. This will allow your business to create tailor-made workflows that support prime performance. Teams can focus more on their day-to-day activities versus managing a myriad of tools. So with that being said, we wanted to use that presentation as an opener to discuss with you all what are some challenges that you're seeing, what questions do you have about best practices, and how can we enable you in your teams?
Well, I'll chime in here, guys. So the question I have, because we talk about a lot with our attendees, and we're doing a full day on-site enterprise architecture event tomorrow. Where do you start? The tools are part of it, but also building that culture. And what are some techniques or tips when we're getting into the DevOps mindset? Because there are probably a lot of organizations on this call that are leveraging that very well, and there are others that are probably dipping their toe into it. The tool is part of the equation, but from a cultural perspective, how do you get different silos working together? And or if politically it's not an issue, the group's working together, but people haven't come from that sort of DevOps background, how do you start building that into the architecture? So I guess 2 points. How do you get the mindset going? And then technically, how do you start doing it?
Yeah, Moser Consulting, how we do it is, first of all, it's where are you at? A lot of clients we go to, as an overall, they say, okay, we want the collaboration, we want the agile methodology, those types of things. And Atlassian is definitely a tool that can get us to those things, the flexibility that we have, and the tracking of our issues and everything. But if the client is not sure where they're at, the current state, we can't build, what the gap is. So we go in, we want to show them, their current state, do a current state analysis, map that out for them, the processes and everything. Now we're with the client. Now, where do you want to be? Okay. And then with that, we'll work with them of creating that architecture with the tool and what of Atlassian, the Atlassian suite, what is needed to reach those solutions that they're looking for. Now, we don't come in and say you have to do this solution. We recommend the solution or the architect to get the best use of the tools for your environment. It is up to the customer. So it depends on cost. So it depends on buy-in from different departments, divisions, those types of things. But we're there to assist and build that with the client and give them the best practices that they can, hopefully utilize. It is not an overnight process. It is a journey, and to get to where you want to be, and your what your wish list is, I call it the wish list, might change as we go through building your solutions for you, and which is great. And that's what we're there to walk along with you and make the best, what's best for each client and organization. Because everybody's different. They've done different practices in the past. Some of those they may want to keep. We'll try everything we can to try to keep some of those, and some of those, they're going to have to be, basically replaced. But you're there for automation, and so that's why you're taking this journey.
So from that perspective, thanks for sharing that, Bob. If I'm an organization that is going down this path, how should my mindset change? Like, what am I using in terms of metrics to accomplish this? What is the end result that we're trying to get to? If you could sort of elaborate on that. It's one thing to go down tactically, but strategically,
right?
What are organizations trying to accomplish for the business, and how are you going to work well?
So part of the current state is we're on you dive into is what licensing costs do you have at that time, and you can even break it down per employee. How much are we spending on licensing for all the solutions we're trying to use? So that's one metric to look at. What if we go down this path of how much we're going to be spending per person, with the one license, with an Atlassian solution. Another metric is the work we're working through. That by that I mean, how are you tracking your issues now, and what how you can be as simple as how many issues are you working through over a month's time. And in 6 months, let's look at that as we implement the tool and the solution of where we're going with that. Take consideration of the number of resources you have and everything. Also, your tracking with documentation you had before. You may have not had tracking and documentation that you have in a tool such as this, and what you're trying to accomplish, especially with like Big Bucket and those types of things, on your development side. That how many times have we done things, and it can be code, it can be a PowerPoint, Excel, whatever, that is not tracked. And the nice thing about the issues, the code, the collaboration, everything is tracked, and you can go back in time to those changes. And if you decide, we made 2 steps forward, but it was the wrong step. Well, let's step back and let's do that. So the documentation part is a big one. It's automatic. Maybe you didn't have that before. That's another metric to look at. And the security around of that you put forth with the users for the application itself. So that's another metric to look at, that maybe you didn't have the security or any kind of security before.
Yeah, and also just to tack onto that, when doing an evaluation of where the current state of things is, it's also just helpful to try and do inventory of what business units are we working with, what teams are using these tools, because many times we see teams that are using these different tool sets, and we ask them, how many teams are using this tool, what teams are they, and a lot of times they say, well, we're not really sure. We kind of just open it up and they log in through Active Directory or Okta, and they get a license, and they don't really have a good understanding of what teams are using their tools. So it really is beneficial to gain an understanding of the current state of things, what teams are using these tools, what are those teams' processes and needs, and then from there, how can they be improved?
Thank you, Dan. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I always think it's helpful just to kind of start out and putting ourselves in the shoes of the folks, because a lot of times they don't know what they don't know. And someone may say that we need to build this into our architecture, but they're sort of starting from ground zero, right? Where they may or may not have the resources that other organizations do, and they've heard about the benefits of it, but it's a lot of the people issues, the working with different silos, understanding what the different groups are trying to achieve. folks that are on the call, is there anyone that has specific questions, either want to chat in or, over audio or video, feel free to ask.
Yeah, I think we still have someone I see as attendees, so I don't know if they can talk verbally to us.
They should be able to, because they've all been promoted. They just need to accept the the invite, but we have a bunch of folks actually that I know on the call. So
Yeah,
if there are other folks that want to ask certain questions or share what they're working on, feel free to go ahead. Or just chat those questions in too. We can wait for this, Bob, John, if you want to carry on.
Yeah, Bob, there was also something that you mentioned in your last comment that I also want to add on is you mentioned security. And something that we talk to our customers a lot about is when you have too many tools and a wide range of tools in your tool set, that may open you up to more risk in terms of security. Now you have to secure and make sure you're auditing a number of different tools instead of a single platform where you have full visibility into who's logging in, what API calls are being made into that tool, et cetera. So that's something we see pretty often is if people have too many tools and they're having different people manage those tools, it just opens them up to a bit more security risk.
okay, I got a question here. You have mentioned Atlassian tools. What are some other example of multi-use tools? I mean, we're here for, Atlassian is the best, but Azure, those types of things. There's actually, there's free ones out there. I mean, but you're not going to get the security, you're not going to get the collaboration, you're not going to get the support, and for the cost, it can't be beat. What the Atlassian suite can do for your business, and it's the best that if you are working towards tracking those issues, if you're in an environment of development of the code management, the collaboration part with your Trello boards, you probably heard that before. Those types of things are just so important that it's definitely, some people try to mimic it, but it's not, it's definitely not the same.
So let me just ask, if you're building into your enterprise architecture, your business architecture, how do you do an evaluation of current state versus future state versus what you need to be, where you want to be? And then from there, what's the language that you've seen people use in communicating to the business as to what the value of this is, right? Because a lot of times there's the missing link. IT knows, or architecture folks, they know what they know what they need to do. They're not always able to articulate in the business because they're not sitting in the business. And if you get real technical with the business, they're like, okay, it's overwhelming to them because they're not coming from an IT bent. So when you're going down this path, what are techniques that you've seen that organizations have used that they're able to see the benefits to the architecture, but then they're able to explain that in business terms to the organization as to why they're doing it?
That is an excellent question, Dan. And it's something that we had a growing pain with that, just exactly what you just talked about. So I can really speak to this issue. And it does. Sometimes you'll have the technical person will go in and do the discovery, and which is great. They understand the discovery, or they understand what their questions to ask, but they're asking very specific questions that are related to, in their mind, what the solution is going to be. So we have implemented that business analysts are the ones that do the discovery. They're almost like, they're impartial. They come in with an open mind. That's why we have business analysts. That's why they're very valuable. So they come in and they're the ones that do the discovery. We don't want any input at that point from the more technical folks that we're going to work with. Next step is now we're going to work whatever we're trying to go. Is it application development? Is it data? Is it kind of a data and analytics type thing? What aspect of IT are we working with? There's a variety. And now we're going to bring them in. This is our current state. Okay, this is where the business wants to be. Now we work together and we provide, the technical aspect along with the business aspect that the business people can understand. And the business people can be CIO, and CIOs are not always technical, but it can be CEOs, it can be HR managers, it can be marketing, salespeople, those types of people. So we want to speak to their language, and so that's where the business analyst is just so vital in this providing the solution to the customer. In doing so, we've had situations that we've done that, and it's been presented in a way that is legible and readable to everybody that's you're meeting with on the call. It's automated stuff, and it's been interesting. Sometimes the surprise that we receive of like, I didn't know we were doing that. Did you know we were doing that? Just like, because they're out there interviewing the everyday user, and they didn't have any idea that they were doing that. Now, a technical person doing that may have missed that, right? Because they're really on the technical side, and they could have just been talking technical stuff. Maybe they got it down or something. But the business analyst seems to have better success of picking those things up.
So are you finding the business analyst sitting in the business? You're finding them sitting in IT? Is it a mixture, I would imagine, based on
a mixture? Yeah, it's a mixture. They should be, yes. We have a business analyst if they're doing the discovery business process analysis, that they should be able to talk with technical, IT, HR, whatever the department is across the organization.
And who really should be leading it? So you've got the business analyst handling the requirements. Mm-hmm. And when you're getting into whether it's digital transformation, everyone, there are a lot of organizations that are doing it, others it's a buzzword, other organizations don't necessarily have a great definition of it, right? But if someone's leading a transformation change or modernization, whatever it may be, and you've got the analyst that's going to down below that's going to be transition the requirements. When you're leading this change, obviously the architectural change is going to be led by the architectural group outside of IT. But where should the business get involved to start with these initiatives? Because we've got a wide range of folks on the call. We've got folks that a bunch are at C-level, director level. We have some architects on the call. Some organizations are much larger than others. Where would you suggest people start with this sort of thing, like getting the buy-in at the top? Who should be leading it?
It should be at a decision, whoever the decision makers are, depending on your organization, every organization is different, but whoever the decision makers are going to be, they need to hear it firsthand what they're actually going to be spending the money on for the solution, and it should be laid out in a way that they understand that it is going to benefit the business, and that's the key, is to benefit the business, not just if you're looking for something that is database specific, you're going to work with it's going to be very database specific, and those are the kind of people you're going to have. But you want to have your decision makers that need to be involved from the start all the way to, okay, now we're ready to implement, ready for the implementation part. Then, every organization has their different ways that they do that. And then it becomes a, kind of a project almost. And, we'll, map that out, and that gets into implementation more than an architect and that type of stuff. Then you get into the weekly, monthly statuses with, different people, communication matrix and all that fun stuff. Did that help, Dan?
Yeah, it did. So our
Okay.
audience, are the questions that the audience has so far, where you all are stuck or how you get off the block, or you're going down this path and maybe you have some questions or things that you're encountering that you didn't plan on encountering. I'd love to hear from the audience. And for those that can turn on their cameras, feel free to, or chat those questions in.
I still think they're having trouble on the camera. The attendees, I see them, they don't have an option for that.
They were promoted to panelists, so if they once they accept that invitation, they should be able to.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Gotcha. One of my coworkers just said they never did get an invite to join as a panelist.
Yeah, it may have landed in junk. I'll do it again right now.
Okay. We'd love to talk to you.
Other questions, anyone feel free to chat them in. Everyone, I clicked the promote panelist to get button again. So it generally will send a notification that you just have to accept.
Yeah, we just had one more join. So from Tim Edwards, what is the average length and cost for an engagement? Wow, Tim, that that is very open-ended. We have had, okay. Can you be a little more specific, Tim? Because when you say an engagement, are you being specific of the implementation of the tool? Are you saying from that we talked about current state analysis to get you to a point of where you're more than an admin state? And if he didn't, okay, I'll just answer that. So from current state, okay, to we'll get you from current state all the way to now you're in administration. Okay. So so the average length and cost of engagement, like I said, that's so open. It really depends on the number of departments you're talking about, the project that you're trying to, is it one project? It could be multiple projects, across the solutions that you're using. And then, the admin part, of course, the more users you have and the more projects you have and that type of stuff, you're going to have more administration, which we're going to have more architect along the way. So if it's just one project, we'll keep it simple. We'll say 2 projects. We'll do current state. We'll say three departments. Okay. We'll have HR, we'll have sales, and we'll have IT. Okay. And so we come in, we're probably looking at, around 100 hours for the current state analysis with that. And then about another, 50 hours or 100 hours for, you have your wish list and where you want to go, where we're doing the gaps analysis. We actually have a different name for it, but we'll call it the gap analysis. Then we'll meet with you. Then the implementation part from, what you want to take from it. So we're giving you this is the Rolls Royce, right? You may not take everything, but you'll take quite a bit of it. Down the implementation part, now you're looking at, 3 to 6 months, because of the architect part of it, making sure everything's running right, working with users, in-user training, support, that type of stuff. So, you're looking at, anywhere 4 to 8 months, depending on what we just talked about there, to get you to an admin type of solution that should be, for that size that we just talked about. Did that, and cost wise, it just depends on licensing number and the number of users you have. Help me out on that, John. It's number of users, of course, the solution.
Number of applications and integrations. It could be a number of different things.
Yeah. So it's very cost effective, I think, for if you're trying to really to streamline your business and do what you need to do there. Does that help, Tim? Okay, thank you. So we have a question from Rob. Do you use, or are you seeing more teams taking advantage of persistent teams where the IT and business team members stick together for the rollout and subsequent improvement phases? The short answer to that is yes. That is exactly what we're talking about and what we're accomplishing here. If you roll this out and it's just for IT, and that's fine, it might be more of a development type thing, but when you start getting into testing and end user user acceptance testing and those types of things, yeah, you can get their input back and put it on the ticket yourself and that type of stuff. But if they're not working alongside you and they're part of the process, they're part of, they have a swim lane. Let's say the end user might have a swim lane that when it's passed to them, they're doing the testing and they're responsible for that before it moves on to implementation or whatever that is. And so, yeah, I mean, if for it to work really the way it should and what we're talking about today, it has to be that way. Did that help, Rob? Okay. Thank you. Okay, yes. Good questions. And if you got your video and all that, you're more than welcome to talk.
Let me ask the audience, because these are some really good questions. Are there folks, and you can chat in or you can raise your hand, are there folks that are trying to figure out where to start? Might be one question with this. Or are there folks that are trying to understand what the finish line is of this, like what the end result is and and how to apply metrics to it to show the business what they're doing? Because there are two different parts of the conversation, right?
Correct. Yes. If you can answer that, if you're online or if you're in the chat, answer that, please. That's a great question.
Okay. I love that and I hate that question, Rob. I think it's a great question. I love it because it's the whole process of it, but obviously the change management piece can be a bit challenging, right? Culturally speaking. So Bob, why don't you take that change management piece and if you can, give folks some strategies of maybe how to speed up a change management process, if that is possible, or maybe some tricks of the trade that have helped folks on the change management side. It's a great question.
So yeah, I mean the change management and if you're going to utilize Atlassian and the Jira software, it's the sprints that are going to drive that change management. And so is it a 2-week, the Bible is the 2-week sprint, is it or is it some go 3, some go 4-week sprints, but that's what's going to drive your change management of where you want to go. I don't know, Rob, if you might have issues of you're working, it could be application development, you're working through it, it's like, okay, now it's ready, let's put it in there. I'm just taking a guess there, that might be one of the issues you're having, but this schedules out and it moves you forward of your change management process. Also, what it does is your backlog that you have within Jira, and you can prioritize those, you're going to see what's coming up too. And it also helps with resource allocation of, do we have the resources that, our backlog keeps growing every cycle, and we need more resources, or we have a big backlog that's starting to shrink. Are we top heavy on our resources, that type of stuff? But at least back to the change management, it defines that you are going to have issues that are going to be worked on during that sprint that are going to be completed by the end of that sprint. Did that help, Rob and Dan?
Yeah, I think so. I want to see, what some of the other folks are saying about that as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's input so far, but here we go.
Okay. Is not an okay. Yes, we have found that our MVP is not enough for the business to actually start using it and transitioning work to the new system. So when you say new system, Rob, are you saying Atlassian? Is that what your Jira? Just curious there, what you say new system? Be interesting to know. Any role. Oh, yeah, that's a different. I would focus more there on your training of any application with the end users. Maybe you're not, getting the training you need to the end users, and also the communication to the end users that, hey, this is coming, get the training to them, and then when you're ready to roll that out, that might be a piece that might be missing, that can really benefit for what you're talking about there. Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, I've been on rollouts before, and did not have the correct people go through the training and the end user training, and we might have had just a certain level, and the people that are really using it, the managers thought, oh, this is a new shiny tool. They're the ones that went to the training. They weren't the ones using it. We had the other end users using it, and it doesn't go so well. So yeah, make sure you have the correct people on that end user training too. Other questions? So thank you for the question, everybody. I saw a few other names on here. If you have any, Kenneth Keller or Maria or Rick, and if you have anything, it'd be great to hear from you. No.
Well, gentlemen, Bob, John, what else would you, if you were to look back at things you've learned over the last several years of doing this, and maybe pitfalls to be aware of, and how to get out in front of that when going down this path, what would you suggest? Like things where you just had an aha moment where, oh, well, that's something we didn't expect to happen, regardless of the tool, maybe just in terms of the planning. What are, we have about 10 minutes left. What are some of the best practices that folks, if there is a diagram, a flow chart, a framework that you would recommend of what a successful rollout, implementation, transformation looks like?
Yeah. Go, John.
Yeah, one thing I want to start out with is when you are doing a proof of concept for a new tool and you're getting ready to move to a new tool, a lot of times some teams will do a small proof of concept with only one business unit or two business units, and they'll try to see if it checks the boxes for those teams, and then they'll do a wider rollout, and other business units and teams will have different requirements and needs, and it can cause problems down the line if you don't have that foresight. So what we recommend is, as you're doing a proof of concept, you're preparing or looking at moving to a new tool or platform, it's making sure that you have input from various business teams to gather their needs and make sure that that this new platform also fits their needs as well. And if they have any challenges to go to the right person, whether it's someone from Moser or if it's an Atlassian representative that's involved, to try and overcome those hurdles before you start migrating to the tool and adopting it. It's really trying to overcome those challenges with multiple teams early on in the proof of concept process.
You just took the word right out of my mouth, John. I mean, it's like anything else. If you don't plan correctly, it's, or you're playing for the wrong people, the wrong audience. That's, just what John said. It's exactly what happens. I'll give you an example is if you're going to bring HR into this process and you're only working with sales and IT, it's not going to work. I could just that is definitely one thing I've learned from that, because everything in an organization, especially as the organizations become bigger, everything flows through HR, and if they're not involved, they're just still going to be doing their own processes. They're not even going to be involved in anything that you just did, and it really will confuse a lot of employees and everything. So just spot on, John. I have the same thing to say. That proof of concept is including everybody, and if they don't have anything to say, they don't have anything to say. But you gave them the opportunity.
Well, we've got about 8 minutes left. Are there other questions that any of the audience members have? Anything that you're sort of struggling with? Anything that you are struggling with or trying to figure out?
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Good questions.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Yeah. Yeah, anything that you think, it can be, anything related to the business, business processes, anything like that. One thing to remember about Atlassian is it is an end-to-end business solution for your issues, for your service desk, for your your documentation, your Confluence, does those types of things, but also your code, and then the security we talked about. So it is an end-to-end solution that is it's IT driven, yes. In any solution, automation solution we do in business is IT driven. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. If everything ran perfectly, we wouldn't need IT and we wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't have to do all this stuff. So it's to make it's to drive more data and more solutions with what you have is a very good way to say it. And you're always looking to improve, and this helps you along that journey, but it puts everything in one place, like John said.
And that is one of our goals is just to create a platform that all the teams in your business can benefit from. And we've changed over the years in many different ways. 15 years ago, Jira software was just a tool used by developers, and then IT teams started to slowly use some of the workflows and features of it, and we saw that and adopted and changed and formed Jira Service Management that applied to IT teams, any service teams that needed a service desk solution. But then from there, we started to realize that, hey, we've got dev teams using this, we've got engineering, we've got IT, we've got these other service teams, but there are other business units that still need a tool to manage their work. And that's kind of where we are today with Jira Work Management. Is now the Jira platform provides a way to track work, no matter what kind of worker you are. If you're in HR, legal, finance, if you are in sales or IT, we now have a platform that allows your team to track their work, to have visibility across the business, And furthermore, just to collaborate with one another. Now we're all on the same platform where I can link from one ticket in an HR project to a ticket in IT and just have that visibility across the business.
Oh, we have a question. Let's see. Do you have challenges or confusion with adoption due to different terminology compared to other systems or methodologies? Example being project versus initiative versus epic, etc. Companies use these terms in different ways, and Jira uses them meaning specific things. Very good question, Rob. You know, I'm just going to say, yes, it's like anything. You're going, okay, so Atlassian will give you what the definition, right, of an epic, the definition of a story, the definition of a task. Do you have to use that definition just how it's written for it to work, or can you use that definition, create a definition for your company? If you're going to get Atlassian support, they might get a little confused when you're talking to them if you're using it maybe in a different definition, but absolutely you can. I mean, what you want to use an epic for, you might use it a little bit more than some organizations just because of how you defined it. You know, or you might use task you know, a little bit different. You know, they might be some standalone. And let's see. So Angela's saying you can get great success if you define your issue hierarchy as an organization. Perfect. Yeah, define it, get it out there, write it out, so everybody's under the same understanding. But you know, they're going to come in, give you, you know, what the definition is, but you know, you have that ability to adapt for sure. That's the nice part about the Jira, you know, especially the architect part, that our architects work with companies, is they will work with that and architect that for the business, for your business.
And one thing I do want to note is that while like right now in its current form, Jira does have a definition of like what we believe an epic is. We have heard feedback from customers that they would like that to be a bit more flexible. So one thing that you'll actually find on our public roadmap is coming towards the end of this year, we're going to have the ability to have a flexible nomenclature in Jira Cloud, because we understand that, you know, more specifically for customers that are adhering to the Scaled Agile framework, that definition of an epic is a bit different from what our epic is. So if you want to rename an epic in Jira a feature, that functionality will be coming towards the end of this year. So we have heard that feedback, and while it has been a rigid nomenclature to date, that's something that we are looking to help customers if they do want to change and create their own hierarchy. That's something that is coming to the platform later this year.
Yep. Oh, great segue, John. I want to bring that up because I have been Atlassian user for about 5 years now. And one thing that I will say, Atlassian does listen to their users. And you know, if you're that type of person though that's got something that you just want for your use, it's probably not going to happen. But if it's something that is, you know, they are hearing from their customers over and over the same repeatable wants, issues, those types of things, they will adapt and get that to make it you know, more user friendly.
Yep, and one thing I'll post a link here in the chat, but it's just a link to our public roadmap. So we get many requests, feature requests in different manners, and those turn into items that we display on our public roadmap. So these are all the items that we've already pushed or we're committed to pushing in the coming quarters. So it's something that's fairly new over the last year. A lot of times people would, you know, create a public Jira ticket and not really have much visibility into if that feature is ever going to be developed, where we now have a new site where you can list by product, by deployment option, and see what features are coming here in the future.
And if you need any assistance in what we talked about today, please reach out to myself at Mosier Consulting. I think Dan will be providing my contact information, I believe. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. So absolutely. So to all the folks, I'll make sure that we get the information out. on how to contact them. I think right now, if you guys just want to chat in your email addresses real quick, that'd be a great way for them to leave it. And then you saw the link that John put up, and so there's great information there. So to Mosier IT and to Atlassian, thank you for enabling us to come together. To the folks in the audience, thank you for your questions. I think that was very helpful to guide the conversation. And I've had great experience working with the folks at Atlassian and Mosier IT. They're really great individuals that look to move the needle forward for others. So please consider them for a lot of your architecture and ops related needs. And for those of you that are ready to get back in person, that our on-site events in Chicago started a couple weeks ago. Tomorrow we're hosting Enterprise Architecture. You can find all of our events at campitsince1984.com. If any of you are interested in speaking at an upcoming Camp IT conference from a practitioner side, feel free to reach out to me. Other than that, we hope everyone stays safe, stays healthy, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you all.